So this is John Freeman. I'm the executive director of the Great Lakes Renewable Energy Association, and this is another solar story. And tonight we're having Ann Arbor solar stories with Julie Roth of the city of Ann Arbor. I first want to acknowledge our sponsors, the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy, otherwise known as EGLE, Homeland Solar from Ann Arbor, Harvest Solar, west side of Michigan, Serenergy from Novi area, and of course, McNaughton and McKay. And tonight we're going to have Julie talk about some new programs that the city of Ann Arbor is implementing, and also talking about a home electrification expo that's taking place tomorrow. So please remain on mute until Julie's presentation is over, and then we'll open it up for question and answers. So without further ado, take it away, Julie.
Okay, let's see. No. There we go. How does that look? You see one slide? Yes. Okay, very good. Well, thank you for having me, John and GLREA folks. I thought it was time to come and update this group as to some of the things that some of the new programs that we've developed and launched in the city of Ann Arbor that have everything to do with residential energy. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk to you about, I think many of you probably know about 820. So very, very brief, just contextualizing this, like, why am I doing this? Why are we doing this? By the way, if you don't know me, I am the energy manager for the Office of Sustainability and Innovations for the city of Ann Arbor. So I run the energy team and energy related programs. So we'll talk a little bit about 820 very briefly, and then I'm going to introduce you to the new Home Energy Advisor program, our new Home Energy Rebate program, so municipal rebates, and then an event that we're having tomorrow night, the Home Electrification Expo, because all these things kind of tie together. So if anyone doesn't know this by now, Ann Arbor has a climate action plan called 820. And there are 7 overarching strategies that this plan must achieve. One is 100% renewable energy. That's the very, very first one for our community. And we are trying to build it as much as possible in the footprint of our community, and anything we can't build in Ann Arbor that we build or procure by building elsewhere. Electrification. So now that as we're cleaning our electricity generation, we are electrifying things, so we stop burning fossil gas in our buildings as well as on our streets. And deep energy efficiency, so we need to stop wasting energy and use less. And then the others are less to do directly with my work in energy, and that is reduction in our vehicle miles traveled, so getting people out of their cars by investing in pedestrian and bike infrastructure and public transportation, moving towards a more circular economy. So we are using less, wasting less, and then investing in resilience in our community, because we're already feeling the effects of climate change, water mitigation, etc. So that's 820. And building decarbonization is a huge, massive part of what we have to do to achieve those strategies, those first 3 particularly. So our buildings in Ann Arbor represent approximately 69% of the greenhouse gas emissions in Ann Arbor. So it's a huge chunk. And this comes from both emissions from the electrical grid, and as well as direct emissions from burning gas in our buildings. And I think it's about 60-40 grid to gas, or some around that. But overall represents almost 70% of our greenhouse gas emissions. And the barriers, as probably everyone on this call knows, to residential decarbonization are huge. So there's the upfront costs of making improvements. There's the complexity of making these improvements, familiarity with equipment, as well as contractor supply and expertise. And then there's others. There's legislative barriers. There's barriers, in legal barriers, things that we can't mandate or even sometimes try to facilitate. So the barriers are vast, and my job is trying to address barriers. That's sort of should be my subtitle of barrier addresser, barrier knocker down. I don't know. Anyway, I'm tired. It's been a long day. Sorry. So this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to address these barriers. So complexity. What we've heard from our community is, I don't know who to call. I don't know who to trust. Am I calling someone who's trying to sell me something? Do they know what they're talking about? I don't know where to start. We hear a lot of people say they want to be part of the solution. They want to decrease their carbon footprint from their home, and they just haven't any idea where to start. And for that, we have developed the Home Energy Advisor, which I will talk about. Obviously, we've heard about costs as a barrier, upfront costs. So needing help trying to bring those costs down to help make changes, so that we're getting closer to cost parity when it comes to replacing like with like, right? Your water heater, your gas water heater with another gas water heater. Can we stack with federal incentives and so forth to try and get closer so that an electric option like a heat pump would be more closer to cost parity? And we also know that those who would benefit most from some of these improvements, especially around energy efficiency, are the least able to finance them. So how do we lean into helping those folks? And then we, we hear a lot that people aren't familiar with this equipment. Not only people, but contractors oftentimes are not so familiar with the equipment. And people will say, well, I called my contractors, always service my HVAC, and they're not comfortable. They talk to me out of it. I've always done it this way. What is a heat pump? What is spray foam? Is it toxic? What they just don't, this is a change. Change is hard. So on top of all of this, as we've been developing all of these programs, in late 2022, the citizens of Ann Arbor voted to pass a 1 mil 20-year millage, which is a tax on ourselves to help fund local climate action. So we already have some funding from the general fund and from some other sources, and we're always grant funding. I mean, if there's a grant out there from the DOE or anybody else, we are applying for it. We need a whole full-time person just to do that. But now we have steady, regular dedicated funding as well from this millage. And that funding began accruing in July of 2023. And it will generate somewhere just north of $7 million a year on top of all the other funding that we're trying to get. And we know that this is not enough to decarbonize Ann Arbor, but it helps us have stable funding to be able to move these programs. And one of the things that we're doing is taking a big chunk of that and turning it right back around into our rebates, giving it right back to people. So first thing is the Home Energy Advisor. I've been working on this for years, and it is finally launched. This is a free program for anyone who lives in Ann Arbor to be able to get clear and actionable, like we call it a path to zero, a decarbonization plan. So the program is rooted in a home assessment that is done for free, either in person or virtual, depending on need, to take a look at your home, get your DTE bills, model your home, determine whether weatherization is necessary to begin with, and then give you a customized path. What would decarbonizing look like for you? And what is your first step? What are your biggest issues? Everyone has a why, right? Why they call the Home Energy Advisor is different. And the goal is to meet people where they're at, right? I used to always say meet people where they are, but I've lived in Michigan long enough now, and people say where they're at. So I've let go of my grammar, like you know, the little guy who sits on your shoulder. Anyway, we meet people where they're at because we're in Michigan. And they may be calling because their energy bills are high. They may be calling because their upstairs is cold, and they don't know why, or it's drafty, or there's mold in the basement or something. Or they may be called because they are concerned about climate change and they want to decrease their carbon footprint of their home. They want to learn more about their home, right? They could be calling for whatever reason. Their heat pump's about to, or their water heater's about to die, and they want to know if there's something better to replace it with. So whatever people call with, that's where they're met. So we've partnered with the Walker Miller, who you may or may not know. They are an very well-respected, well-known implementer of energy efficiency programs for utilities and other entities in the Detroit area. They are a Black woman-owned, BPI certified B Corp. I mean, really good company. And they won a competitive RFP to help us implement this program. So they, Swen and Curtis are the main energy advisors on this program. They offer, as I said, in-person assessments, virtual assessments, as well as consult calls, people just calling up with a question, either having had already an assessment or even not having had an assessment. And what this looks like, the assessment is sort of the base and the bulk of it. So it's good to get a baseline of where you are so you know where you're going, right? So in this case, there's a report called the Path to Zero, and it looks at these 5 sort of pillars, right? First and foremost, health and safety. Is there anything going on in the home that they can see? They're not, you know, looking for infestation. That's sort of beyond scope, but is there something going on with the home that is concerning from a health and safety issue? Specifically mold, maybe asbestos, that kind of thing, right? Something that really needs to get taken care of before you can do any kind of energy efficiency work or other things. They look at energy efficiency. Is the home insulated and weatherized and air sealed? Are we wasting a lot of energy? They look at potential for electrification. So what are we burning? What gas appliances do we have? What fossil fuels are we burning in our buildings? What are how old are these appliances? How long do we expect that their lifespan is? And then let's make a plan for replacement. Because as we know, appliance replacement almost always happens at the time of failure. And if you're replacing something when it fails, you're going to replace it with whatever you can get fast because you're cold or you're hot or you don't have a nice warm shower and you just need what you can need and what someone has, and then you just get that. But if you have a plan ahead of time and you have choices when it's time and you try to replace things before they die, this is a hard habit to break, right? People want to squeak out everything that they can get out of their appliance, but there is a case to be made for having choices. And then we look at renewables, right? And battery storage. So as we're getting people, you know, getting their energy use down and then increasing it again with electrification and offsetting it all with solar can help really reduce the costs of that, operational costs of that extra electricity that people are buying. And they are advising on rebates, incentives, and financing that could be applicable for an individual project. So we know that the IRA tax credits, the federal tax credits exist now. We have the Ann Arbor's municipal rebates, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. If there are utility rebates, there are not very many that are applicable to people who have natural gas, but if there are those, and then eventually when the IRA rebates arrive, helping people sort out what those are and how they can apply them. So stacking all of these different things that are stackable. So this is sort of a look at what the Path to Zero report kind of looks like. This is just sort of the first page, like what is this? You know, definitions and sort of the general. But this is, you know, for an example of a page. So this would be step 2, your energy efficiency page. And if you have specific next steps on your Path to Zero, it will be listed here. So in this case, it says have your home professionally air sealed and see such and such section. So that There's also an energy audit report. If any of you have ever gone and purchased an energy audit, you'll get a big, like usually Snug Pro or some other kind of report that's thick and has a lot of technical information and can be pretty overwhelming with detail. I got one and it sat in my drawer for a long time before I had the stomach to bring it back out and figure out what I really wanted to do. So the idea here is you're still going to have that, but this helps you distill what it is that is most important for you to do. And these reports are delivered, like they're delivered, right? They're emailed, but then within a week, there's a follow-up call. So the advisor is sitting virtually, usually with the homeowner, talking through this report. So it's not just a document that's emailed that nobody looks at. And they're talking them through what they saw, what they think, what they're, and answering questions as they go. So this launched in April. It was immediately swamped with interest, which is so exciting. There's now over 400 requests, I believe. So very quickly went to waitlist status while we worked through that initial flood, which we knew was going to happen because there are the early adopters. There's the people that are following what the office is doing. You put it out on your newsletter and your listserv and an email, and then, there's a lot of interest. But they're almost through the waitlist now, which is why I felt like I could come on here and talk about it. I was going to come talk about it in April, but then they were so swamped. I was like, I don't want anyone to really know about this that doesn't already know about it, because it was, I didn't want, more people to go there that couldn't access it because they were behind. But probably within 4 weeks or so, they will be out of waitlist status. So right now you can go onto the website and you can request, if you live in Ann Arbor, you can request you can get on the website, or excuse me, get on the wait list, but it will be open pretty soon. So if you are on the wait list, as soon as there's openings within 4 weeks, they contact you. So they don't want to have you apply for doing something 8 weeks from now when you have no idea what your schedule is going to be like, because you're scheduling that date for that assessment at that time. So we are collecting feedback and working on like little things that could be improved in the program as we go, but it's been really fun and really exciting. We have feedback forms for everybody who goes through the program. Then we're going to be doing like probably around 9 months, 6 to 9 month survey after someone has gone through the program to try and find out what kind of changes people may have made based on the program. Individuals can also call back and are encouraged to do so. Take some time, think about this, get some estimates. We have a contractor list that Michigan Saves has developed that is really highly skilled contractors in the HVAC and energy efficiency space. If you have questions about bids and you don't understand anything, call back. If you need coaching about this project and you have questions, call back. So they're kind of like coaches, right? They'll continue to help you with, walk through your projects and your questions. So that's the Home Energy Advisor, and there'll be plenty of time. I'll just go through all of this, and then we can talk about all of it at the end, and you can ask questions at the end. That'll probably be the easiest. So the other thing that we've just launched is our rebate program, funded by that climate action millage that I talked about. So this also launched this summer. We've been very busy. This is why I'm tired and I'm loopy and I'm making bad jokes and puns if I am, because we've been very busy. So we also launched this summer our home energy rebate program. This program has a budget in the first year of $1.9 million to give back to residents of Ann Arbor. It's only residential for now. This is our first year of it. We had to put some parameters around it. It's residential. Commercial is difficult. Commercial projects are very expensive. It eats into a budget very quickly. If you're going to try to make actual impact on a commercial project, it's more than we have. So we're starting residential. We're focused on 1 to 4 unit residential properties, not tall, big multifamily, sort of commercial multifamily properties. You must be located within the boundaries of Ann Arbor because people frown upon it when you use taxpayer money to help people in Saline, although we love people in Saline. It just doesn't really work that way. And you must be 18, and those are the rules. We have approximately 1,300 rebates available to the residents of Ann Arbor. We have created 2 tiers. There's a standard or market rate tier and an income eligible tier. But we have made our income eligible tier really not just low income, but really low to moderate income, right? Because a lot, you know, if you're very low income, there are services you can access like the weatherization program and so forth, county weatherization. And if that's the case, we will help you connect with those folks to get things completely paid for. But our what we're trying to do is help sort of the people at the lower income level and also kind of in the middle. So you can see here what 120% of AMI is area median income looks like in Ann Arbor. So this is above area median income by 20%. And depending on the people in your household, this is what your income would look like. And if that's the case, then you get sort of the higher level of rebate. So the folks that are above these income levels have a standard or market rate rebate. And these are the buckets of things that we're rebating for this first year. This could change next year. We are launching this with our best, all the research that we've done about greenhouse gas mitigation, about equity, about kind of where the market is, trying to sort out what buckets are we rebating. And we've decided that we're doing batteries for storage, because for solar, we have Solarize, which is already reducing the cost of solar, and also solar kind of pays for itself. So between that, the 30% federal tax credit and the Solarize, we thought batteries needed more help. We are doing heat pumps and water heaters, so air and space heating. We are doing energy efficiency, so insulation and air sealing, and we are doing e-bikes. That vehicle miles traveled bucket, trying to get people out of their cars. Research has shown that e-bikes are doing that. They're not really just replacing bikes, but they're getting new bikers on the road, people that weren't biking, and getting them out of their cars. So for battery storage, I think we have 50 rebates reserved to support, and most of these are going, people who are applying for these are people with solar that couldn't quite afford a battery, so they're getting resilience, right? We also have a limited number there because, as you probably know, or many of you know, we are on the ballot in November is, should the city of Ann Arbor adopt a sustainable energy utility? That is a whole nother topic. But that will involve residential solar and storage, city-owned, on properties. So in the meantime, we have some market rate rebates that are $2,000 for battery and income eligible rebates that are $3,500. So taking a nice chunk out of the cost of a battery. For electrification, we are only rebating cold climate rated air source heat pumps. So the most high efficiency that work in a fully electric setup, because that's what we're trying to incentivize. And as well as heat pump water heaters and electrical panel upgrades. So if people have a 100 amp panel and that's just not going to cut it, helping them to get panel upgrades. And you can go on the rebate page and see all the specifics, but basically market rate rebates are between $1,000 and $2,500, and income eligible between $2,000 and $3,500 for these various things. For energy efficiency, we have some more modest rebates for specific things like just doing rim joists or just doing attic insulation. But if you bundle these things together, that's what we're trying to get people to do, right? We want people to do a deep dive. And what we're finding through the home energy advisor is that everybody needs this. Most people need to do these things. And so really trying to get people to do both the attic, roof, rim joists, and air sealing, then you're gonna get a bigger rebate. So market rate between 2,000 and 3,000, and income eligible between 3,000 and 4,500 in rebates. And then our bikes. Market rate rebates are small, 250 to 500, and income eligible 1,000 to 1,200. And it depends on if you're getting a regular e-bike or a cargo e-bike that can like help you carry lots of stuff around. And these have been very popular, as we knew they would, rushing off the shelves. Actually, we're getting, there's still rebates available in all of these buckets. I would say bikes, batteries, and panel upgrades are probably going the fastest so far. Oh, the other thing I should say is that we rolled this out with 2 ways to get a rebate: reserved and unreserved. So when we looked at best practices in other places, we found some places that did all reserved, like you call up and you reserve a rebate. And in those cases, all the rebates were reserved in like, a day, and then it was all gone. But then if someone didn't use the rebate, it got released. But then that was a slow process, and it was sort of chaos. Other places, they were only unreserved, like go do your thing and then apply for a rebate. But we were concerned that some of these projects are complicated. You're going to do a massive weatherization program, and you're going to get a heat pump. They take some time and some planning and some work with contractors. And the rebate may be the difference of whether you're going to do it or not do it. So we wanted to give some people a chance to reserve a rebate as they're working through their project. And so that's reservable for 60 days. So we'll probably make some changes in this structure, I think, maybe as we go. This is a learning process for us as well. And then last thing I wanted to tell you guys about, remember in that familiarity bucket, that people don't know about this equipment. They're not familiar with it. They know about their gas furnace. They see it all the time when they go in the basement or whatever. They don't know what this stuff is. So we are having our 3rd annual Home Electrification Expo at the Farmers Market tomorrow night from 5 to 8. Really excited about it. Looks like it's going to rain on and off, but it hopefully shouldn't be too much of a disaster, and it's pretty covered. So far every year it's rained a little bit because why not? But essentially here we have vendors who have heat pumps with them, heat pump water heaters, induction stoves, heat pump dryers, energy auditors. We have weatherization contractors, blower doors set up, induction cooking demonstrations, all this kind of thing, anything that you could think of. Solar installers, several of them will be there, signing people up for estimates or for solarized groups, that kind of thing, and demonstrating batteries. We have Michigan Saves will be there, talking about financing. We'll have our home energy advisors there, so people can sort of meet them or meet one of them and talk to him. We're going to have the rebates represented, so our rebate administrator is going to be there helping people understand what the rebates are and if they qualify and what for. We're also going to have live jazz band, free ice cream, food trucks, so it's going to be a lot of fun, I hope. And I should say that, there are huge prize giveaways as well. We've gotten some generous donations from some sponsors. So Richmond is giving away a free heat pump water heater, and Haley is giving away free installation. So some lucky winner is going to get a new free heat pump water heater to replace their gas one. The electric lawn company is giving away a month, I think 2 months or a month, I don't know, free all electric lawn care service. So you can stop mowing your lawn for a month and someone else can do it. We also have prizes that are good for people who don't own homes. A portable induction cook plate, right, with a pot that works with it, or a portable, like a Jackery with solar and storage. If you're familiar with the Jackery, the portable kind of generator with solar panels. free, I can't remember everything else. Oh, some weatherization kits. So there'll be prize drawings as well, which will be really fun. So yeah, that's what I've got for you. This is how we're trying to address barriers in Ann Arbor. There's a lot of them. This is not addressing all of them, but working our way. I would love very, very much to be, I like to say I would like to be sort of clean for just long enough to fix the carbon problem with ordinances and mandates, and then give democracy back. I used to say that all the time, but now I sound like Trump, so I'll probably stop saying that. But I would be good. I would be a benevolent dictator, I promise. Anyway, so that's what I've got. Those are our new programs that we've rolled out in Ann Arbor. We're also, very much in communication constantly with other areas, other municipalities in the state, with the state itself, and Eagle. They know everything that we're doing with other states and communities within states throughout the country, because decarbonizing Ann Arbor is fun and everything, but we're trying to save the planet. So sharing best practices, learning from others, sharing what we're doing, what's working, what isn't working. Sometimes we're at sort of that bleeding edge of let's try it and see what works and see what isn't working, revise it. And other people like it when we go first because then they don't have to. So yeah, that's all I've got for you, but I'm happy to talk about more about any of these programs or answer any questions that you have.
Well, thank you so much, Julie. It was a great presentation, very inspiring as always. So we have a couple comments to begin with in the chat. One is from Jens, who is wondering whether they do the blower door test for air infiltration as a part of the energy audit.
Yeah, that's a great question, Jens. The in-person the in-person assessors do, and the virtual ones obviously do not because they are virtual. So the way that works is, in either case, what we're trying to do with that assessment is to determine whether somebody is going to need air sealing and insulation, not necessarily take over the job of the contractor that's going to be doing it, that should be doing pre and post blower doors, with walking around with infrared and feeling exactly where do I need to put the caulk and so forth. So we'll get an idea. Your rim joists are, obviously in need, and your blower door is this. If we're doing a virtual audit, we assess that information by modeling. So we get everybody's annual DTE data. They release it to us, right? We talk them through how to find that on the website, and they send it in, and we plug it into that Snug Pro building model software. So we can say, well, based on visualization, because the virtual audit, somebody's walking around with their phone, and a Zoom meeting like this with the assessor, taking pictures of labels of equipment, looking in their attic, looking in their basement. And this is one of the things that they ask at the beginning is, are you comfortable with that? Do you have mobility to be able to do that? Do you have technology comfort to walk around with a Zoom call? Some people are fine with that. Some people do not want to do that. So, and if there's language barriers or other kind of barriers, then it's always an in-person. So some of them do and some of them don't. We have both options, but either way, what we're getting is sort of an assessment of if you need weatherization, not the total details of what you're going to need. Michigan Saves has, you probably all know, do you all know Michigan Saves? They're the state's green bank, right? And they do energy efficiency financing, and they're very, very good. And they are just a wonderful partner for Ann Arbor and so much of our work. One of the things that I did with them a few years ago was to work on their contractor list, creating an electrification badge for the contractors who would go through some extra training around electrification. But this program is even finer tuned than that. So we went to Michigan Saves and they said, here are, I think, 4 HVAC and 3 weatherization contractors. These contractors know heat pumps, they do heat pumps, they can do an all electric, version of things if that's what people are wanting. And they're not going to talk you out of it. And they know their stuff. And these weatherization contractors will always do air sealing with weatherization, and they will do pre and post blower door tests, because some weatherization and insulation companies don't, which is also remarkable to me that people actually tell people that they don't need air sealing, that's nonsense, that it's, which is just crazy, because you do. So anyway, that was a long-winded answer to, do they do a blower door test? The in-person folks do, assuming you don't have asbestos or something like that.
We also have a question from Caitlin regarding, is there a size requirement for a battery system in order to get the rebate?
Nope, I don't think so. Well, I shouldn't say that. I mean, it's a home storage battery, right? It's not like a little portable camper battery. And on the website, and you can literally Google A20 rebates. There's a link to the technical specifications of what SEER and what, size and all of the specific technical requirements for what we're rebating.
Okay. Joe has asked whether, I'm assuming he's referencing those weatherization contractors you just mentioned, Julie. Joe wanted to know if you could share those names of those companies that you've vetted.
Yeah, that's tricky. Yes, probably. So it's, we're in such a interesting space, being with the city, in that we're trying so hard to stay out of the legal position of saying, go see this contractor and don't see that contractor, which is why we've relied on Michigan Saves to do this for us. And so I think I can, let me see, just give me a second here. I'm going to find the web page that Michigan Saves has created with these, what they're calling electrification pilot contractors, is not something you're going to find by navigating there, because we also didn't want to, sorry, I'm trying to talk and navigate at the same time.
Who are you working with at Michigan Saves? Is this Patrick or
Mac McCabe? He's the contractor manager, so he knows the contractors the best.
Mac McCabe?
Yeah, Mac McCabe. But I'm going to share it with you if I can find it. Just give me a second here. Oh, here it is. So you can't find this list. We're not trying to sort of create a situation where contractors are upset because they're not on the short list, so to speak. On the other hand, this is really important, and we want this home energy advisor to be able to really help people do this really complicated work. And we welcome other contractors to join that Mac will identify as sort of doing the kind of quality of work that we want to see. Here it is. And then it's not exclusive. They can join if Mac sort of vets them. So that's our sort of short list, but we're not publishing it widely. We're not like spreading it around. But it is when the home energy advisor provides the path to zero to somebody, this is the link that they give them of the contractors that are in the heat pump space and the weatherization space that Mac has identified. And we are going to be watching that very closely in people's experiences, right? So there's also this sort of this sense of third party vetting, right? Where if people are coming back and saying, well, this contractor said this, or I didn't have a good experience, and and kind of keeping track and making sure that people are able to find sort of the contractors to do the work.
Well, I certainly can appreciate the balancing act that you and your colleagues have at the city. But I think if you look through history, anytime there's an explosion of activity within a new sector, there is always some fly-by-night companies that are trying to
Yeah.
take advantage of people's newfound interests. So we really appreciate the work that you and of course Michigan Saves is doing. So the link that Julie is just referenced is in the chat. Jens, you have a follow-up question. Why don't you come offline and ask it rather than me read it from the chat? Can you come up? Can you unmute yourself and and
Yeah, thanks.
go ahead?
Yeah, great stuff. This is what the world needs, I guess. Certainly America needs. On this is more like geek out if you have spare time. You said they're building like a virtual model of your house to kind of like estimate like energy consumption or something like that. So I would think they would need like a floor plan or some sort of mechanical data of the thing. They're getting that from a satellite, or do I need to submit floor plans? Or
I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to put this in the link as well. It's a Snug, they're using Snug Pro. It's an energy auditing software. And you know, I can also, I don't know if on that site, you can see a sample of what one looks like, but essentially they putting in all your data, right? They're putting in either your blower door or your blower door plus your DTE data for an annual basis. How many people live in your house? What 80% efficiency gas furnace of X size, and what kind of air conditioner you have, and what kind of water heater you have, and how many square feet you have, and sort of, I don't know, they're probably looking at how many, I don't know if they look at all of your windows, like they have all this data that they put in to the auditing report, and it spits out opinions is not the right word. Outcome,
yeah,
sort of
sure.
recommendations for improvements. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, thanks for the link. I'll check it out. It seems like they have even some free options for homeowners or something.
Perfect.
I'm not in your target zone
You have to
area there.
move to Ann Arbor and then we can help you.
So we have a
Also
question.
trying to address the housing affordability crisis, because it is not, because that's also, a thing. But I think that's a thing in a lot more places than Ann Arbor, but we are certainly feeling it.
Sure. So Harvey's got a question. Harvey, you want to articulate it out loud? You want me to read it from the chat?
I could answer that question, or I could just tell you what my question is. So I'll
Go ahead.
So you you named a position of people that will hold my hand to help me understand how to go at this. How many people in the office have that position?
Okay, great question. So that's the Home Energy Advisor program. We partnered with Walker Miller. Walker Miller, I don't know if you were on at the very beginning, they are that is who is helping implement the program. So we piloted the program last summer with another partner, a couple of partners that we did a pilot with. We evaluated the pilot, we redesigned it based on results of the pilot, what went well, what we wanted to change, and then we did an RFP, a request for proposals, to find an implementer to help us implement this program. So Walker Miller won that. So these are not city staff. We are contracting with them. So we've designed the program, but they are the advisors. They are implementing the program, and they are BPI certified, home energy score, very, very experienced in the energy efficiency world, and very excited about electrification and what Ann Arbor is trying to do at the same time that they are on the ground. They've been on the ground in the Detroit and Southeast Michigan area for a long time. So they are, like I said, meeting people where they're at. Not everybody is me and wants to just rip out all gas infrastructure immediately, or Michael Hagan. Not everybody can be Michael Hagan right now. We all aspire to be Michael Hagan, who has done all of this work in his home. But everyone is coming in a different place. And if there are also, I think there are gateway drugs to electrification. And I think that can be something like a gas stove, when you know what the health implications are, when you understand if you have somebody with asthma or a child or an older person or respiratory issues in your home, and you start looking at the data of what gas stoves do. Or it can be a water heater. Those don't last that long, right? So you're replacing them. And if we can get people to start thinking about options, and then why would I want to replace a gas water heater with something else? So we're trying to find those little gateways to electrification. Energy efficiency is much more universally, you know, sort of everybody wants to save energy and save money. Not as sexy though. So people kind of, you know, some people just think that's boring, but electrification is sexy. And then you tie them together. You just meet people where they are and you see where can we move them.
Sounds good. Well, that's all the questions in the chat. How about other questions from folks? Does anybody have a question for Julie?
Or an idea? Yeah, go ahead, Harvey.
Okay, another question I had. You know, I'm in the middle of doing a project that involves a lot of this, and I actually just forgot my question. So take somebody else.
That's probably why your brain is so full of like
A little overwhelmed.
project.
Go ahead, Dennis.
Thank you, Julie, for your presentation. A few years ago, I live in Holland, city of Holland.
Oh,
and
the city of Holland is fabulous. They're doing so much good stuff. I love Holland.
Well, they had a program, and they still do, I think, where they'll come in and they'll analyze the house and then get a contractor to do some work, and they'll pay for a lot of it, and you pay for the rest. And
Yep.
they did that to our house. They did the door, the fan in the door, and all that kind of stuff. I never did get any of the specific data from them, and I wanted to figure out what my carbon footprint is for the house. And the last time I did it was several years ago, and it really got involved, and I had to go through all kinds of stuff to try to do it. Do you give the people a carbon footprint analysis, and what they can, how it's going to change things for them, or is it just they just expect things to happen?
That's a really great question, Dennis. We're not doing sort of a carbon footprint calculator, but it's an intriguing idea. It really is. They exist out there. You can go online and go free carbon footprint calculator, and then you plug in all of your stuff and it spits out your carbon footprint. Sometimes I find that stressful, but it can be kind of motivating if you can show sort of the direct impact of what you're doing. It's interesting. There are probably a subset of people who would really like that information. You know, I tend to think I just want to do all of it eventually, you know, and in whatever steps make sense until I'm pretty much net zero. I don't really care about the exact precise measurements. I just know I need to stop burning gas and I need all my electricity to be renewable. Like that's it, right? That's that's carbon, that's neutral. That's what I want. But you're right. It would be really interesting to include something like that. And Dan Brouwersma over there in Holland, who runs all of that stuff, this one man sort of guy, he is a gem. You guys are lucky to have him. I've tried to get him to move here, but Holland needs him. So Holland is really, really, really ahead of the game in terms of their programming around this. I'm so impressed by Holland.
What's his name?
Dan Brouwersma, Brouwersma. He's my hero. He's my West Michigan hero.
Sounds good. We got a question from Phil Reed.
Yeah, I have a question. Are you in your programs, these different people participating, are any of them replacing existing solar panels with more efficient solar panels?
I have not seen that happening.
Okay,
I think adoption of solar has been so, the massive adoption has been so recent. I suppose there are folks out there who got solar a very long time ago, but I think there aren't so many that I've become aware of a pattern.
right. Okay, thanks.
Any final questions for Julie? This has been wonderful. I guess I have a question, and
Okay.
it may be a bit early. You mentioned how you're working with the state of Michigan and you're sharing information with other cities. Are you trying, once you gain more experience with this program, will you be in a position to try and create a model that you could share with other people, that so we could like replicate it and not reinvent the wheel, kind of like what you did with the Solarize program?
That is absolutely what I want to do. We're pilot, I feel like everything we do is a pilot, right? So this is our first year of it. We just launched it this summer. And, we know what it costs sort of for the contract. Walker Miller was very interested in doing this because I think they also saw the potential for expansion, right? Because really, if you're in the same climate zone and the same sort of contractor network, like there's no reason we couldn't do this county by county or Southeast Michigan or something along those lines. It's just a matter of capacity, right? And money and how many people you have doing it in the region. So
Let's go there just for a
Yeah.
quick second. When you had that millage for the 1 mill that generates 7 million a year, was that a hard campaign that you fought, or did it pass relatively easily?
71%.
Hmm.
Which is remarkable to me because I don't think you can get 71% of people that agree about like puppies or chocolate or something. I mean, what? 71% in a November election. This wasn't some weird, middle of nowhere election, voted to tax ourselves for climate action locally. So, I will also say though, that we had done a lot of pre-work in Ann Arbor. We were already working really, really hard on community building trust. Not everybody trusts your city to do things. And we had been out there. We were at every HOA meeting. We were at every community meeting. We were tabling at events. We were getting to know people. We were branding ourselves and listening and starting to do things for them like Solarize and some of these other programs. Solarize is a big one because we're in all these virtual living rooms. They're seeing me like I'm just a person. I work at the city, but I'm not like some big, bad, scary city person. And so when we're out and being very real and in the community, we're building trust. And so I think that helped.
Any predictions on the November, this one coming up?
I don't know. The SEU, the Sustainable Energy Utility. I have no idea. So now that it's on the ballot, we're not allowed to campaign. The city staff can't campaign for something that's on the ballot. We can provide factual information. So Missy is starting her factual information tour and going out and talking to people. If I had to predict, I would predict there will be overwhelming support for this. The only way that it could get complicated is because we've been talking about this for years too. This is not new. But it does get a little complicated because there's also a community group that wants full municipal takeover. And it's complicated enough without trying to talk about two different things that are, that a community group is advocating for and what we're trying to build. So if there's confusion, I suppose that could be part of it, but we've done surveys in our community. We've done, certified like paid forum surveys, and there is a ton of support. So
Well, I read
yeah.
your most recent report that was highlighted last week, and I thought the kind of the financial analysis was very interesting.
Yeah, it's true. It's it showed that sorry, I'm going to share something on my screen in a second, but yeah, we definitely showed that depending on, the cost of, so what this is, right, is that it would be city-owned solar on rooftops. So you just say, I want to sign up, and we come put solar on your roof, and then we bill you for the energy from the solar. So we're a little mini utility, and we can eventually microgrid throughout the community and have shared batteries and things like that. So it's like a parallel utility that runs underneath the big utility. And if we get enough initial, it's all about scale. If you get enough people signing up for it to begin with, then the cost of the energy is less than DTE. For solar alone, if you add battery, it's not less, but it's less than it would be to add a generator on your own. So you're getting resilience there. For less than you would if you were doing it on your own. So it was pretty encouraging, but I also want to show you one other thing, because this is the GLREA, and why not? This is our current, I don't know, can you see this whole, where did it go? Oh no, you're looking at all my spreadsheets. See, this is what happens when I have 50,000 tabs open on my computer. I have to find it again. I was showing you you can go to a2gov.org/solar and scroll down, and you can see our current solar adoption, because someone had asked if we're seeing people replacing old solar. This is what our solar adoption curve looks like with Solarize. So I think it was right here, 2020, this is 2020, when we lost net metering, right? And
No,
it was 2019. It was 2019.
2019 and
we actually lost it in 2016 legally.
Well, yeah, but it stopped in 2019. So what happened between 2018 and 2019 is this 2019 year was a huge year for solar in Ann Arbor compared to the years prior, because people who knew that net metering was going away were all getting net metering. So we almost doubled our solar adoption that year. Solarize started after that, right? At the very, very end of that year. And those installations were not seen until 2020. So you can see what Solarize did here in terms of adoption, even after we lost net metering. So this is the first year of it where we expected it to come crashing down because everyone that was interested had just gotten it. But you can see that it didn't, and it continues to do really well. And we're at 149 now, and this is just in, we've got many more months. I imagine we might hit, our highest numbers.
Well, it doesn't, it certainly is helpful that DTE continues to raise the rates every 10 months. So it makes the financials pencil out for getting residential solar, even with the DG tariff only being half of the retail rate approximately.
Right.
Okay, well, we're at 8 o'clock, so I want to thank Julie for putting on another excellent program. Ann Arbor is such an inspiration, and Julie and Missy are just wonderful leaders in the state. And we really are honored to be able to partner with the city of Ann Arbor and all the great work you're doing. Phil Reed put in the chat that if anybody is not a member of GLREA, make sure you join us to support our work. And with that, I want to thank everybody, and I hope you have a wonderful evening.